The last two C# syntax rules that we'll talk about are the concepts of whitespace and then also how comments work. So with whitespace, C# literally ignores it. When I say whitespace, I mean things like spaces and tabs. When you put spaces and tabs, they're more so to enhance the readability. Here's what I mean by that. So remember how I said that you need a beginning curly brace and an end curly brace. And then whatever statement that you have for your method goes on the inside of it. Well, it's formatted this way so that it's easy to read. But technically, we could put this curly brace on the same line as the start function. And guess what? No errors. It'll literally run the same way. We can move this curly brace to the end of our debug.log. And again, no errors. It will still run the same way. We could even take that debug.log and put the entire thing on the same line. The reason why it's not good practice to do so is because it makes reading this line of code that much harder, especially if somebody else is reading your code. So it's good practice to make sure that you include extra white space to make it easier for your code to be read. And lastly, we'll talk about comments. Comments are lines of text that programmers use to describe what lines of code are doing. If you take a look at line number 7 and line number 13, both of these are comments. The way that we know that they're a comment is comments always begin with 2 forward slashes. Anything that comes after the forward slash on that line is not read by Visual Studio. This is especially helpful when you're trying to keep up with what some line of code is doing. Not only can you add comments before lines of code, you can also add comments on the same line as a line of code. Again, comments are just there for you to be able to describe what exactly is happening in your code. If you want to make a large comment across multiple lines, instead of using 2 forward slashes, we'll use a forward slash and an asterisk. So what happens then is everything after this forward slash and asterisk becomes a comment until you end it. At the end of your multi-line comment, you'll add an asterisk and then a forward slash. So basically the opposite of what you started with.